And for about 40 years, I've been fighting for others. I've been working, handling campaigns, either for the party or for other leaders. It's been an amazing experience. The amount of love and affection that I got, that the Honorable Prime Minister enjoys from the people of North Mumbai, was a delight. And I'm thrilled to be a part of the Lok Sabha.
So I have to ask you, sir, now, 2 months ago when we last spoke to you while you were on the campaign trail, and now the government is back, you're back, and in many ways, the big question people have is, do we get to see policy continuity, sir? Because the numbers of government have indeed changed.
Well, I can assure you and through you, all your viewers, there will be both policy continuity and there will be further reform, there will be further improvement in the policy, there will be a greater thrust to various programs of the government. The Honorable Prime Minister only 2 days ago is on record at having advised all the chief ministers to take all our programs to saturation so that every beneficiary can get the benefit of our various programs. I've just come from a meeting with the footwear manufacturers, and we are introducing BIS quality standards so that all the consumers, 140 crore Indians, get good quality of footwear. And all of these are things which have been going on for many years. It's all policy continuity.
Okay, so policy continuity, but what do you think changes? Because in some cases, the implementation has to be done through bodies and the states. And now you're saying that the opposition is in boycott mode. They want to boycott you in parliament. They want to boycott Niti Aayog meets. Can it be implemented? Can the rollout still be smooth? Or is it a face-off?
Well, I think it'll be a few people who may boycott a meeting like this. The people at large want good things to happen in their life. Let me also assure you that save and except 1 or 2 states, most other states, even though there may be opposition ruled, are willing to implement all the schemes of the central government. So let's take the industrial parks. The Honorable Finance Minister announced 12 industrial parks are coming up. It's not as if all those parks are in BJP rules.
Including the largest one in Maharashtra, I'm told. The largest
ever. No, not the largest ever, but amongst these 12, the largest is in Maharashtra. Now, it doesn't mean that all the projects are in BJP ruled states. When other parties, governments in the states have also given proposals, have also desired to have an industrial park in their state, they get it. When the textile parks came, the first park approved was Tamil Nadu, not run by the BJP. It's a Congress DMK government. Second park was in Telangana. Again, at that time run by the BRS, now by the Congress. So this government has never discriminated and has always worked with every state with equal consideration. Most of our projects go through a bidding or a challenge route, and everybody has every right to participate in that. And the best state or the best man wins. And I can assure you that going forward also, Prime Minister Modi looks at 140 crore Indians, irrespective of the state they may reside in, irrespective of who runs that state. He looks at the country as one, and he believes that unless the entire country develops, we will not be able to become a developed nation.
Okay, I have to ask you on the big ticket item from the budget, which we are just few days away from, and of course you've been in Parliament where the budget session is being discussed as we speak. So now we are being told internships. We are being told that new hirings are going to be incentivized by government in the private sector. We are being told that fresh hirings, additional hirings will be incentivized to the PF route. What's the mathematics? What does that create in number of possible new fresh intakes and job generation in the private sector?
Broadly, these 5 schemes that the Honorable Finance Minister has unveiled aggregate to about 4 crore 10 lakh jobs, largely in the private sector. Some of them could also be in PSUs. But this is only part of these schemes. The regular job growth is going to be an ongoing affair. The regular incentivization of making in India goods and providing service from India in terms of the services that is growing very rapidly. The large thrust on infrastructure and the associated multiplier impact and the jobs that it creates. Let's for a moment look at infrastructure. When 11,000 crores are spent by the central government, in addition to that, states will also spend. In addition to that, private sector will also invest. Collectively, it could be anywhere from 20 to 25 lakh crores being spent on or invested on infrastructure projects. Let's take 20 lakh crores for argument's sake. It's an approximate figure. Anybody in this room, any of your viewers will agree that roughly 1/3 of any infrastructure project, you can construct a building, you can construct a road, you can construct a highway, you can make a port, roughly 1/3 goes into labor or management. That's incomes for the people of India. Another 2/3 goes into goods and services. Those goods and services result in greater degree of trade, व्यापार बढ़ता है, कारोबार बढ़ता है, उद्योग को बल मिलता है, the demand goes up for goods and services. So logically, there's jobs created in all those sectors: steel, cement, furniture, carpets, electricals, air conditioners, public address systems, firefighting systems. You name it. They say almost hundreds of sectors get benefited with one infrastructure project. And when you spend 20 lakh crores, you are not only giving a big boost to demand of goods and services, you're also adding to the purchasing power of all those associated with these projects or associated with providing goods and services to these projects. And that is where the multiplier impact, it ranges from 2.5 times to 3.5 times, depending on the kind of project. So every rupee invested in infrastructure has that multiplier impact on the economy. That many more people get incomes. That income leads to purchasing power or demand. And that virtuous cycle, one can call it a Chakravyu, since our leader of the opposition today's his needle got stuck on one word. And then he didn't know. He just kept rambling everything around Chakravyu. But I think this virtuous cycle of growth is what is taking the country to the next.
So let me ask you about that, because they're also saying that, look, you borrowed this idea from us and we are the ones who put jobs on the radar, and we are forcing government to do these steps which they should have been doing from long ago.
फिर इतना नाराज क्यों हो रहे हैं? इतना आक्रोश क्यों है? I think they realize कि उनके जो ideas थे वो डोल्स के ऊपर सेंटर्ड थे. हमारा जो काम है वो कौशल विकास पर सेंटर्ड. बहुत अहम फर्क है, पर वो बालक बुद्धि को समझना बड़ा मुश्किल है.
How is that ideologically different? Because in the run up to the elections, when we saw that one manifesto is saying that we are going to create Lakpati Didis by giving drones and other forms of employment. The other is saying we are just going to give you the cash. Now give you the cash is tempting. You saw post the elections people gathering outside Congress offices and demanding the 8,500 rupees.
But that's a basic difference in thinking. Prime Minister Modi is trying to empower the people of India, empower the youth of India, empower the women of India. What the Congress has traditionally done is weaken large sections of society, make them dependent on government, and in some sense build up their vote banks. I remember there was a time where every scheme of the government was divisive in nature. They were dividing that this benefit will only go to certain section. This benefit will only go to a few people. What Mr. Modi did was he tried to saturate schemes so that everybody who deserves or who needs that can benefit from a scheme. I think it's more an understanding that an Indian, the DNA of a person born in India, doesn't accept charity for his livelihood, for his life. He prefers to be empowered and wants a good quality of life for his family on the strength of his work. मुझे नहीं लगता भारत का एक सामान्य व्यक्ति सिर्फ खैरात के ऊपर जीना चाहते हैं. वो आत्मनिर्भर होना चाहते हैं, वो अपने पांव पे खड़ा होना चाहते हैं.
But there's a conundrum here, and when we posed this question to the Prime Minister when we interviewed him, and he said that not even the opposition says that in the delivery of the schemes there has been favoritism. Nobody has levied the charge in 14 years as Chief Minister, 10 plus years as Prime Minister. But there are going to be people who are the beneficiaries of the house, they've got the jal, they've got the toilet, who necessarily will not become your voters.
That's fine. हमने कभी उनको देते वक्त ये नहीं पूछा आपने वोट किसको दिया था, या ये नहीं कहा कि देखो हमने दिया अगली बार हमें वोट करना. I think Prime Minister Modi ने हम सबको, he has always taught us that once the election is over, your duty is to work for 140 crore Indians. Now you are a servant of or sevak of the people of India. And very often we come across a situation where one feels that if we take this decision, it can help us in a state election or in a local election. He never allows us to do that. He says decisions will not be taken based on an election coming up or on what is good for an election coming up. Take a decision which is good for the country. Take a decision which is good for the people of India.
But how is the digestion been, sir? Because now you've had a few weeks to figure it out. You have your internal meetings. In two states, which was the difference between the 272 and 240, what was the issue?
Well, I think a good section of society, a large section of society, got carried away in a rhetoric which was absolutely untrue. And possibly the counter to that rhetoric may not have reached the people well in time. That's one of the reasons that we could see in some parts of Maharashtra, some parts of Rajasthan. I think the rhetoric or the propaganda to some sections of society overtook reality.
Maharashtra, you mentioned, you're of course a member of parliament now and is coming up in elections, and perhaps the most complex election because the parties that have been existing or subsisting for decades, either no longer exist or have been split across the board. It's a complex election. How do you think it fares, and how do you intend to put the puzzle pieces together there?
I think we have a very strong coalition with the Shiv Sena and NCP, RPI Athawale, Jankar's party, and with MNS supporting us. Even in the last election, the Lok Sabha election, I don't know if you're aware, we lost more than 10 seats, just the BJP alone, with less than 30,000 votes. And overall, if you see the vote share, we are only 2 lakh votes less than the Mahavikas Aghadi, the Congress-led alliance. So it's not as if we were very far behind or that they've really done wonders. In the initial phases of the election, particularly in Vidarbha and Marathwada, I think the narrative that they were able to propagate took us in by surprise also, but you can't win every election on falsehood.
Okay, the alliance has done well in the civic polls. You had a very strong criticism recently of certain words used by Sharad Pawarji. Do you think it's become an issue of survival for him? It's become personal? What do you think has happened there?
Well, I think he made certain comments which were completely false. And I think in a way, he himself was a part of that whole effort way back in 2000, in the earlier years, 11, 12 or so, where they tried to put some of our leaders into false cases during the Congress government. I think finally the Supreme Court has very clearly said that those cases were false, that those cases were without any basis whatsoever. And with Sharad Pawarji talking about those cases, it clearly showed that he is getting a little bit desperate and wary of the prospects of his alliance in the next election.
Okay, Rahul Gandhi some can argue that he has had 10 years of turmoil. I mean, it's not been an easy 10 years. Congress performance, worst ever in history, then slightly better than worst ever in history. And as you yourself point out, 3 elections and you still can't make 200. Does that qualify as struggle? Does that qualify as sangharsh? Has he earned his place as LOP this time around?
Well, at least from the speech that I heard today,
90-minute speech. He spoke for almost more than an hour.
oh, did he?
Yes, that's
I was
the
wondering where
recording. Yeah.
ek ghanta kis
No,
cheez
no.
mein-
Afterwards, when he came out, there's an issue regarding press and all that. It became a long, wall drawn out thing suggestion in Parliament. So is it an energized Rahul Gandhi?
I don't think so. I would have expected him to raise the level of the debate. Now, if you look at the content of what was said today, he was talking about everything except the budget itself. The criticism that he sought to try and create or make had nothing about the budget. He talked about caste-based census. He talked about giving the farmers support on a legal guarantee for MSP. He spoke about all extraneous issues. None of these are a part of the budget in any case. All of these are issues which are taken up on different debates, different fora. When we are discussing the budget, one would expect him to, if at all there are any shortcomings, try to point out those shortcomings in the budget. We found none in his speech. If at all there are some suggestions for improvement, we found none in the speech. If at all there are any suggestions of which will help the country grow faster, country do better in the future, at least I did not find one in the speech. Everything he spoke about was only propagating either a divisive agenda or issues on which his own government's track record is extremely pitiable. Let me give you a simple example. Who sat on the report from 1955 to 75 or 77 to provide support, affirmative action to the OBCs? Who opposed the Mandal Commission in the first place? आज बड़ी बड़ी दुहाई देते हैं about sections of society not getting their rightful share. Who opposed the Mandal Commission? When they talk about secretaries of the government of India not being from particular communities, does he realize that all those who are secretaries today were recruited when the Congress was in power? हम तो सरकार में नहीं थे. In the years in which these secretaries were recruited, all those who are today secretaries or additional secretaries are largely people who were recruited from 91 to 96. If you take the list of all the secretaries, that was the Congress government in power. It is they who recruited all these who, by period of time, have become secretaries in the government of India. So I think the gentleman, वो मैंने कहा ना बालक बुद्धि है, he is not able to mature and understand these issues. And beyond a point, he will not be able to sell a fake narrative to the people of India.
But does that also equate to an Akhilesh? Does that also equate to Mamta Banerjee? Because she also is the one who walked out and said, my mic is not working, and she's got Akhilesh campaigning
By the
for her
way,
Bengal.
I read Mamtaji's statements during the day. She started by saying my mic was switched off. Then gradually, as the truth unfurled, and she realized she's getting caught on the wrong foot, and her falsehood is getting exposed, she said that after 5 minutes were over, the Honorable Home Minister tapped on his mic. He did that for every speaker. He had said in the beginning, 5 se 7 minute har ek bolega. And after 5 minutes of every speaker, every one of the speakers, he would tap on his mic to give a signal that 5 minutes are over. And before every speaker, there was a clock which was indicating the time. I was not in that meeting, but Mamta ji herself let the cat out of the bag. Morning she said mic was out, afternoon when she went out. By evening she realized कि मेरी चोरी पकड़ी गई, झूठ पकड़ा गया. तो बाद में उन्होंने सच्चाई बताई कि सिर्फ एक टैप किया था.
Okay.
And she got an excuse to walk out.
Okay, I know my time with you is limited, but I want to go back to a few of the technical questions now. You mentioned saturation of schemes. How close are we, sir? Because before the elections, we were told we were very close in providing houses, in providing toilets. How close are we now?
Well, in terms of toilets, I think that we have not heard from anywhere any complaint that toilets are not provided. Jal Jeevan Mission is an ongoing scheme. 2014 में, when in 2014, only about 3.5 crore families received tap water connection in their home. We are at a figure of 14 crore plus today. And we hope to take it to every home in the country, that everybody gets tap water, Nal Se Jal, through the Jal Jeevan Mission. In Ujjwala, we had saturated the scheme. Everybody had received a gas connection. But we realized that families grow, families split, children become old, and nuclear families, they get their own home. So we ran a whole drive to once more enroll anybody who doesn't have an Ujjwala connection, so that we can make sure through saturation that nobody is deprived of a gas connection. Now, the Honorable Prime Minister is taking it to the next level. Starting from the cities, we are trying to take piped gas connection to every home, so that the problem of cylinders or the cylinder being exhausted and some new cylinder taking a day or two to come, even that inconvenience goes. You have a piped gas connection. It also reduces the cost and consumption falls. Similarly, on Ayushman, we have a provision to go up to 60 crore people. We are actively engaged with all the states. Please add more beneficiaries. We have issued cards to about 35, 38 crore people. But we are continuously talking to people who are eligible for Ayushman card to take an Ayushman card. We wish to issue more beneficiaries the Ayushman card. So all of these schemes, we are taking up to saturation.
Okay, but
in the homes, if you recall, the Honorable Prime Minister has announced that while having already built 4 crore homes, rural homes for the poor, in this term we propose to add 3 crore more homes. And now the enumeration process will start.
yeah, urban homes also.
Then for 1 crore people, he has announced urban homes also, apart from various schemes for slum rehabilitation, in situ slum rehabilitation, so that slum dwellers can also, juggi jhopdis, bastis can also get a better quality of life for their children. So this government is committed for the welfare of the poor, is committed to provide a better quality of life for the poor. In a way, we want to make sure food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, education, road, water, electricity, digital connectivity, all these basic needs of 140 crore Indians are taken care of, so that 140 crore Indians, particularly our youth, is empowered to dream big, to aspire for the big and better things of life. And when 140 crore Indians are aspirational, they demand a better future for themselves and their families, then the 140 crore Indians will work hard, will work well, and that is what will drive India to become a developed nation.
Okay, I always ask you every time you come, sir. So my last question is going to be on this. How is the semiconductor plans working out? I mean, we are now seeing some progress, but is there light at the end of the tunnel in those projects?
One semiconductor unit right up to chips is proposed to come up in Assam. A lot of people are coming up for AMTP. A lot of people are coming up for designing in India. And this whole thing, the whole semiconductor business is a process. I've myself talked to all the top companies, Ashwini Vaishnav, Rajiv Chandrasekhar earlier. We have all been engaged in this effort to attract the semiconductor industry to India. The Honorable Prime Minister has had dialogue with many top leading semiconductor companies. They all assure us that going through the stages of evolution of semiconductor is important. First design comes, then AMTPs, and step by step there will be a greater degree of India-made semiconductors fully. I can assure you the projects are taking off as per schedule.
looking forward, exciting because it's so core to the future of the country. Piyush ji, as always, great to have you and congratulations once again on your Lok Sabha win. Good to have you on our platform once again. Always a pleasure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Shri Piyush Goyal ji, for taking out your valuable time to join us at India News Manch 2024. It's been a long day, ladies and gentlemen, but it's certainly not over. With us in the hall right now is Shri Gajendra Singh Shekhawat ji, Union Minister for Culture and Tourism. देवियों सज्जनों, तालियों से स्वागत करते हैं हमारे अगले गेस्ट का, गजेंद्र शेखावत जी. Moderator for this session is Mr. Rana Yashwant, Editor-in-Chief of India News. Rana ji, I request your presence on stage with the Honorable Minister.
गजेंद्र सिंह शेखावत जी, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत.
धन्यवाद.
अभी गायक मुकेश की जन्मशती थी, तो आप गए?